Good evening. Good evening. My name is Lori Barnes. I am one of the assistant directors for the Development Services Department for the City of Northport. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight to learn about our new Accela online permitting program. In 2021, the City Commission authorized a capital improvement project to implement this new software program to help the city become more efficient and effective in processing applications, to provide more transparency to the public and the development community as to the status of those applications, and to help us comply with statutory timelines for development permits. I can tell you that it has been a long process, with the final stretch beginning in 2023 when the City Commission authorized the department to move forward with VIP Consultings, who helped us put together the framework to implement Accela. We're happy and proud of our staff that worked tirelessly to make this project complete, and we are ready to launch on December 9th. A couple of housekeeping issues. If you would please, if you haven't already, silence your cell phones. We are recording this session so that we can put it out on the website for those who were unable to attend tonight. And if you have questions about the program or specific applications, we'd like you to wait till the end of the presentation to ask those questions so that our presenter can move through the process quickly. First, I'd like to introduce our team that has worked so hard on this project to bring it to you, the development community, and the general public. First, I'd like to introduce our building division business manager, Katrina Romano. Josh Spears, the project manager. Dick Murdoch, our application systems analyst. Kyla Strawn, who will be giving the presentation tonight to introduce the program and walk you through how the program works, how to create an account. She is our business systems and operations analyst. William Kitty, who is our land management administrator. And last, but certainly not least, Andrew Harrington, who is our business systems analyst. Again, thank you all so much for coming tonight. We hope that you are pleased with the program when it launches. It is very similar to our surrounding communities, so we hope that with that, it will be an easy transition for you as we move forward into Northport's future.
All right, now I'm going to give you a sweet little presentation before we bring Kyla up. So this is part of development services, and we're doing the Accela online permitting software. So as Lori stated, we're going to be going live on December 9th. So this is the industry standard solution that is used by multiple municipalities and counties in the area. So we're coming into modern times. That way you don't have to have one process for here and another process for another location. Everything has been, to the best of our ability, enhanced and optimized to make it an easier situation for the contractors and developers to access their needs. And we have future-readied everything, so as new items are available through the Accela platform, we can introduce it to, again, make further changes for you. So with the automated inspection assignments, no longer are you going to have to hope and wait for somebody to get assigned to something. Everything's automatically assigned as soon as you're scheduled. It'll get kicked out the following day. Concurrent permit reviews enable building to run through the plans reviews and run through everything concurrently to get it back out to the customer faster. And then fee automation as well. I know that's everybody's least favorite thing, but now everything is going to be automated to the point that we're not going to have to issue refunds or ask for more money in the future. Everything is automated, and the computer does it for us, so we don't have to worry about it anymore. So this is going to be the landing page for the ACA, and that's what Kyla is going to be demonstrating for us tonight. This is going to be the home page for everyone who has to access Accela on the customer side. So you'll log in, or I'm sorry, register, log in, and then you will also get a PIN registration once we go live, so you can access all of your previous records that were stored in Naviline as well. So you'll still have access to all the permits, records, and documents that were associated with those. So, and then streamline online payments. So again, you're not going to have to come in anymore. Everything will be able to be handled right there on the ACA. So these are the modules that we incorporated into it. From building, we have a new subdivision, natural resources, that's located with planning and zoning. BTR is encompassed in economic development, and then code enforcement and fire. And with that, who's a fan of Box? One. I'm surprised we had one. Thank you. So Box is going to be going away. We are now going to be utilizing the digital plan room. If everybody's familiar with Accela, it does make it a much easier process than what we utilized at the city before between SharePoint and Box. Now everything can be done directly through the ACA, and you're not having to compile PDFs into one page and keep calling us, and we call you back, and so on and so forth. So again, we're streamlining everything to make it much easier for you. And with that, I will welcome up Kyla, and she will give you a little test drive.
Hi, I do see quite a few familiar faces in the room. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kyla. I've been with the building division for almost 9 years now. So I will be going ahead and walking you guys through the website that's going to replace Click2Gov. If you're not currently familiar with the permitting system that the city uses, right now we use a program called Click2Gov. That is going to be replaced by this website. This website is abbreviated by ACA. It stands for Accela Citizen Access. It links up directly to the Accela that city is going to be using on the backside that you guys don't see as much. So that will be replacing the current software that we have right now, which is called Naviline. So as a couple of people have previously stated, we go live with this on December 9th. I want you guys to know that if you already have records currently with Naviline, you will be receiving an email right after we go live that will have details regarding a PIN registration. And that's the process where we're going to be able to take your current records in Naviline and link them over into your new ACA account once you guys create one. So moving forward, you won't have to worry about like how to process permits in the old system versus permits in the new system. It's all going to be taking place here in this one website. So the most important thing that I can tell you guys about this website is you are definitely going to want to register and create an account, mainly because you can see here, if I don't sign in and I try to click into something like building permits, I'm going to get a blue bar across the top of the screen. And that blue bar is going to tell me that I need to be logged in order to use any features of the website. So also on that note, if everyone can just be patient with us tonight, since this is a test environment, it is not running as quickly as it will like post-production once we go live. So again, like I said, you can see if you try to click around on the website, there really isn't too much you can do without creating an account, besides, of course, the very obvious option to create an account. So that's going to be the first thing that all of you guys will be doing once we go live with this, is creating your own account. And that's the first thing I'm going to walk you guys through here today, is how to do that. If you guys have created an account with literally any other website, a very similar process. You're going to scroll down and click the Create an Account button to start. And when you click Create an Account, it's going to ask you for some very basic information. All of the information I'm putting in tonight is not going to be true and accurate, because it's just for testing purposes. So things like a username, that can be anything you want it to be. Email address, pretty self-explanatory. Same thing with your password. As long as you put the same password in both boxes, it'll work. If not, you'll get a fun little error message that tells you and typing in front of a room full of people is not your strong suit, and you get to try it again. Yeah. Can everyone see that better? Bigger, or you're good? Okay. And then after filling out the security questions, again, very basic information for anyone who's ever created an account with any website before, you'll go ahead and click the continue button. Your next screen is going to prompt you whether you're an individual or an organization. So if it's just you, maybe you're a homeowner, you would check individual. If you're an organization or someone who works like for a big contracting company, then you'd want to click organization. You can see the bubbles change a little bit depending on which one I choose. If I choose organization, things like the name of business are going to pop up. If I choose something like individual, name of business is also going to pop up in case it's a sole proprietorship. But that'll change the organization level a little bit in the background. So for us today, we're going to go with organization. And again, very basic information, right? First name, last name. Anything that doesn't have the red star on it is not a required field, so you can put it in if you like, but you don't have to. After filling out that information, there's an option to add an address here if you guys have more than one address. If you don't, you'll just click submit. And then just like that, you'll get a green bar across the top that says your account is successfully registered. Your next step, of course, is going to be to go ahead and log in. We'll do that by clicking the login button, and then the same information that you just input. And then once you're logged in, you're going to be able to tell first because it's going to tell you up here at the top. So you can see for this, it says that I'm now logged in. It's also going to bring you here to a landing page. After I walk you guys through a couple of applications, I'm going to go ahead and hop over into a testing account that I've been using for like the past 7 months. That'll have a lot more records and stuff like that, so you guys will get a lot better idea of how it'll look after you've been able to use the website for several months. You can see here across the top, there's all of our divisions. So you've got planning division, building permits, code enforcement, business tax, and fire. To run through all these things really quickly, planning is somewhere you would go to submit things like new development projects, certificate of zoning compliance requests. Building permits, of course, is where you'd go for things like building permits. Code enforcement is where you could go to either look up code enforcement cases. Maybe you're curious about what your neighbor has going on, whether or not they pulled a permit, or of course, if you wanted to submit a code enforcement concern, you could do that yourself here through this website. Business tax receipts. If anyone has a business located within city limits of Northport, you'll be able to apply for your business tax receipt through this link here. And then fire for anyone who has to pull any fire permits. That would all be done through this website as well. So again, it doesn't matter what your guys' day-to-day business is, whether you're using one of these options or all of these options, it can all be encompassed underneath the same account. You'll see that, again, once I'm logged in, I do get a lot more options than when I was not logged in. One of them is that I have the ability to search for just records. You can, of course, search by the record number if you have it. I think most of the time if you guys are trying to look up a record, it's because you don't have the record number. That, of course, means that you can do things like search just using the street number and the street name. You'll just want to make sure that when you're going to search for records, that you're searching within the module of the record type that you're trying to pull back. Also, once you guys create your account for the first time, I suggest that you go up here in the top right corner to the Account Management tab. When you go in here, it's going to enable you to do a couple of things. One of my favorite things is to add a license. That way you guys don't have to type it in every single time you go to add an application. I am going to use a license that a contractor very graciously said I could for this demonstration. And so all you guys have to do is, of course, choose the license type, put in the number, and then I know you can't see this happening in the background, but what's actually happening is this website is calling out to DBPR's website, so the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. For all of you guys, if you have a professional license, I'm sure you're very familiar with that website. So instead of having to register your license with the City of Northport and renew it every year, we've instead been able to create a link between those two. So that if you guys are up to date and on good terms with the state, then you guys are now officially up to date and on good terms with the city as well. So again, you can see all I did was put in the number and it was able to pull back more information for me. If I click add license to account, it prompts me up here at the top on, do I want to associate this license with my account? I'm going to click OK. And you'll see once I do that, it adds it here underneath the license information section. So again, even though all I put in was the state license number, you can see it pulled over other information like when the license was issued, when the license expires. This status here is not the status of the license with the state. This is the status where the city still just has one last due diligence step to check it on our end to make sure it's valid. So usually within 24 hours, you'll see that this, I believe, changes to accepted instead of pending. Also, it being in a pending status is not going to prevent us from applying for any permits today. Also, I want to draw your guys' attention down here to the delegates at the bottom. If any of you currently do business with the City of Northport, I'm sure you're familiar with our authorized agent form or adding authorized agents to your account. This is basically what's going to replacing that process. So you can see if I click add a delegate, it's going to give me the option to add someone to this account. So again, not only can I just add their name and email address, but then you can see there's an area where you can set permissions. So you can allow this person to create applications across all categories for you. You can allow them to renew current records, amend current records, manage inspections, so things like scheduling, canceling, rescheduling inspections, manage documents, whether that's uploading them or downloading them, and then also making payments. So you can check all of these boxes or only a couple. You can also see does not like my email address because this is a fake email address that does not yet have an Accela account. So, but again, this is where you guys would go to add delegates to your account if you would like someone other than yourself to have access to your account. Going across these buttons here at the top, you'll see something that says collections. That is going to correspond with this big tile here. You guys can use this to organize your permits or other records however you like. I've seen some people organize them as like permits they're still working on, some that are issued, some that are ready to CO, some that will organize them by different areas of the city. Of course, some by like different superintendents. So all of that you guys can do once you have records in our system. You'll be able to organize them into whatever collections make sense to you. And then it will always display up here in the top. Also up here across the top, you see a little cart. This is where you go to pay for anything. If you want, you can pay for more than one permit at a time. Or of course, you can pay for permits as you go and submit them. I think for our first record type, we're going to go ahead and hop into planning. And then once you click on planning, you see I get two options here. It defaults me to search for current planning applications. I'm going to click over here on the left to create an application instead. This is going to take us to a little landing page. You will want to allow pop-ups from the site just in case there's any error messages or things like that. You want to make sure this pop-up blocks are enabled. Then there's a general disclaimer for you guys to read through in your own free time. Very exciting. And of course, once you read through it, you'll check the box and click Continue Application. And again, since we're in a planning module, this is going to bring us to all of the different planning applications that are available to be scheduled, or I'm sorry, applied for online. So you can see we've got them broken down to a few different categories. We've got land development applications, several underneath that. Minor applications, again, several different application types there. Addressing applications, and then other. So for tonight, we're going to go ahead and choose a certificate of zoning compliance. and click continue. I don't know if any of you have tried to submit applications using Click2Gov when it was up and running, but one of the hardest features to work with was our addressing system. You had to type the street name exactly correct along with the house numbers, otherwise it would not pull up the street. You'll be able to see here in a moment that that is not the case when we get to the GIS information here. Project name would just be that, the name of whatever project. It can sometimes, again, depending on how you guys organize your businesses, we'll see some people put the address up here because that's easy for them to identify. Sometimes it's just a description of the work. So like maybe this one could actually be a CZC for a shed. And then in the description box, that's where you could put some more information. So maybe down here we'll put something like the dimensions of the shed. So here on the next screen, I was telling you guys that if you don't know the perfect street name, right, or you forgot the suffix, if all you have is the street number, you can just throw in the street number. That's honestly what I would encourage. I think less is more in this situation. So for example, if we just put in the street numbers, it is going to call back any addresses within the city of Northport that start with 4744 as the house numbers. Once they pop up this way, you guys can choose whichever house you like. And then you'll see once I select this bubble, it actually pulls in the parcel information automatically, and it also pulls in the ownership information automatically as well. So again, we saw that pull through in the previous screen, and then same thing, it populated the address information here on my screen. It's populated the parcel information here. You can see it's pulled some additional fields from the Sarasota County Property Appraiser's office as well. And then it's also pulled in the ownership information here as well. You can see if we continue scrolling down, we get a couple more questions here. One is whether or not the above parcel is a partial parcel part of the project, and then whether or not this project is going to include more than one parcel. If you guys get distracted at work, have to run away, there's always this save and resume option button down here. We go ahead and click that. It's going to save my place in the application. And you'll see if I go back out here to this home page, now that I have a record of my own, you can see it populated it down here. It's got today's date, so that's the date that I started submitting the record. It's given it a temporary permit number. That's what the TNP, and it stands for temporary application. This is, of course, not a real application, as we never got through all of the steps to fill out all the information and successfully submit it to the city. It's going to tell you what kind of record you're working on, and then again, that first screen where we put in the project name and the description is going to pop up here in this table as well. And then underneath actions, you can see I have the option to resume application. Also, just a housekeeping note for you guys. If you do save an application partway through, it's going to be able to hold this for 30 days in your ACA account. If you do not take any action on this application for 30 days, the record is going to expire and delete itself, so you will have to start from scratch again. But again, that's anytime you go into it and start working on the record, it's going to refresh that 30 days for you. So if I click here on resume application, it's going to ask me if I want to pick up where I left off or start from the beginning. I'm going to choose pick up where I left off and click OK. And you'll see it brings me right back to where I was. All of my answers are still all of the questions are still answered, and all of the information I previously populated still exists here as well. So this time we're going to go ahead and continue forward with the application. And again, any of these record types that you guys are applying for, again, in this case, we're working on a certificate of zoning compliance within the planning module. But you'll see after this, when we go into a building permit, every application is going to look and feel very similar, very basic, where you're just going to answer questions on a screen, click continue, and it's just going to move you through the entire application process. So in this case, I'm going to say I'm not the property owner. and that I am a licensed contractor in the state of Florida. This is why it's helpful if you guys fill out as much information as possible when creating your account. You see it's done some nifty things like pull me in as the applicant and then also pull my mailing address in as well, so I don't have to manually enter that here. If I click the select from account button, it's going to, again, allow me to pull in either my information or it's going to allow me to pull in the information from whoever the associated owner with this. In this case, the associated owner is the owner from the Sarasota County Property Appraisers website. Again, for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to choose myself. It pre-populates the mailing address that we typed in the beginning, so I'll leave that checked and click continue. Authorized agent, if I wanted to add anyone from other than myself as an authorized agent to account, I could do that here as well. Again, I can either choose myself or I can choose the associated owner. If I back out of that, you can also see I have the option here to add a new person. And then I will have to fill out the mailing address for them as well, as it's a required field. And you can see it's going to populate all that information that I just typed there and allow me to continue forward with my application. This is where, when I said we were going to associate a licensed contract with my account, I can pull that information in here. So if all I do is put the state license number here in this box and then I just click off to it, the computer is going to take a moment to call out to the DBPR's website, and as soon as it does, you'll see some information pop up here in red. It's pulled over the type of the type of contractor, in this case a building contractor, and then again it's pulled over the license status, the expiration date, the application date, and then you can also see it's pulled in the information, the name of the business, and then the business's address as well. And we save and close, and they've now been added here to the record, and we're going to continue on with the application. So for this next part, it's going to ask us just some general information about the application type we're making. Again, in this case, we are applying for a certificate of zoning compliance. Let's say we're maybe going to go ahead and build a house. So from what approvals am I seeking? I'm going to choose a single family house. And then again, it's just going to continue to ask me questions related to the application type that I'm going through. I'm going to go ahead and skip a couple of boxes here, even though they are required fields, so I can show you guys that that's not going to be successful in case you try to be sneaky and skip over things that won't let you. Or, of course, if you're making an honest mistake and just forgot it in its entirety. Also, completely forgot that I said we were applying for a shed permit. So let's go ahead and make this all match the information for a shed permit. So I'm going to go back up and change this to addition for an accessory structure. So again, I want you guys to see that there are some questions I didn't answer. In this case, I didn't answer this question here, but it does not have the red asterisk next to it, meaning it's not a required field. Then also further up here, I did skip over 2 fields that do have this red asterisk next to them. If I go down to the bottom of the page and try to continue on with my application, it's not going to let me, and it is going to very conveniently pop me back up to the 2 required fields that I missed. You can also see it did me the favor of making them red and adding a little yield sign next to them. Again, just drawing my attention to these 2 fields and letting me know that I do have to answer these questions before it'll allow me to move on with the permit. After you filled out all of the required information, it will of course let you move on to the next screen. In this case, is asking if there's any corporation information. In my example, there is not, so we're going to skip past the screen and click continue. And then it's going to take you to a review screen. If I want to, I can expand these boxes to go ahead and see the information that I put in previously. Each of these boxes is going to correspond with one of the screens we went through earlier. By default, they're all going to be shut, but again, if you guys want to take the time to go ahead and review all of your information, you're more than welcome to do so. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, there is going to, again, be a little disclaimer here. After you read that disclaimer, you can check the box and then click continue the application. And then it's going to take me to a screen to go ahead and pay the fees. You can pay those fees by clicking the check out button. And then you can see it gives me the option to either pay with a credit card or pay with a bank account. I only have a fake credit card memorized, so we're definitely going to choose the credit card option instead of the bank account. And after we click authorize, it's going to go ahead and process our credit card payment. And then on the next screen, it's going to tell us that we successfully have submitted our application and also give us that application number, as well as the ability to upload any plans that we need to associate with that. So again, since this is a test environment, right now things are taking a little bit longer to process than usual, in particular the payments. So again, you can see here I got a nice little green message up here that lets me know my application has been successfully submitted. And then it will display the address of the application. And then down here, it's also got the record number and then the ability to upload plans and documents. If I go back to my home page now, and then into, back to my home page here, and then into my records. Now that we've successfully submitted a record, you can see it appears here on this record screen. We'll come back to the screen in a few moments after we go ahead and submit a building permit, and you'll see that a new section will be created that'll say building permits, and it will list the building permit that we apply for there as well. So again, this is where my record is. You can see here I've got 2 options to either make changes or upload plans. I'll be going through those options with you guys here in a little bit. But now that we've successfully submitted a planning record, we're going to go ahead and move on to a building permit record. So very similar to how we submitted for a planning record, we click on building permits and it automatically takes us to the screen here where we're able to search for building permit records. Of course, since we're applying for a brand new one, we're going to click create an application here at the top. Very similar process as last time. You've got a little warning here telling you to make sure you allow pop-ups from the site, and then a disclaimer that you're going to go ahead and read, check the box, and then continue on to the application. Since this is a building application and not a planning application, you can see that these categories here have changed. Building permits are broken out into 3 categories. We have commercial building permits, residential building permits, and then building permits that could basically be either commercial or residential. For today's example, we're going to go ahead and go with a garage door permit. So you'll select your permit type by clicking the little bubble and then scrolling down to the end of the screen. You can click Continue Application. Once again, we're prompted to go ahead and enter an address. Again, you guys can use as little information here as you want. I suggest just using the house numbers, just in case the customer or contractor got the spelling of the street wrong. It will pop up all the addresses that match that house number here to give you a list to choose from. And when you guys select that address, again, it's going to automatically bring over the parcel information as well as the ownership information. Same screens that we had last time. It's pulled myself or my fake self here over as the applicant. Again, because this is the account that we just created, so it automatically pulled me in here. You can see we've got different questions since this is a different application type. In this case, the first question we're being asked is whether or not the owner is also the contractor. A couple things I want to draw your guys' attention to here. One is that there is a little blue question mark here. This is going to display help text if you click on it. So this is where in the future, depending on what kind of questions we're commonly getting from contractors, we will be able to add clarifying information so that you guys can see it here on the website. In this example, the question only being 3 words is not super specific. So if you click that help button, it's going to pop up a box that says if you are the owner and representing yourself as a contractor, you're going to need to personally appear at the building division to sign your application. You'll see a similar notice pop up here if I say, yes, I am the owner working as my own contractor. Again, this red text is not going to stop us from moving forward. It's purely informational, but it's just letting me know that if I am the owner working as myself, I am going to need to appear in person to sign the building permit application. If I check the no box, then this message does not display, but then you'll see instead we're prompted with a second question. The second question says, will the contractor be selected now? So again, depending on what you guys are answering to questions, you may see either more questions pop up or some questions go away. Again, that's entirely dependent on the answers you guys gave previously. We're going to go ahead and click Continue the application. Same process as last time. We're going to go ahead and pull over a contractor. I should also let you guys know that depending on the screen, for example, let's say we were applying for a water heater permit, then this contractor here that I've put in, a building contractor, it would actually not allow me to attach them to a water heater permit, seeing as this is not a plumbing license, this is a building contractor license. And building contractors are not allowed to apply for things like plumbing permits online. So if you guys are ever getting any sort of error messages like that, I just want you to double check what kind of application you're in. Again, because we've tried to build in some of those safeguards to prevent you guys from applying for the wrong permits on accident. After pulling in the contractor, we're going to go ahead and continue on with our application. Very similar things as last time. Again, I said this time we're going to go ahead and apply for a garage door permit. You can also tell what kind of permit we're working in because it's going to tell me the type here at the top of the page as well. And then once again, prompted with some questions. This one is, should this permit be linked to another building permit? We've got a field for the estimated cost of construction, whether or not we're replacing an existing garage door. If I do something like say, no, I'm actually cutting a giant hole in my wall and putting in a brand new garage door. So no, I'm not replacing an existing one. Again, you can see some help text is going to pop up. In this case, it says, if you're installing a new garage door, please apply for a remodel permit. So again, this is a permit type where we would only want someone applying for it if they were replacing an existing garage door. So that's why we've got some questions that you guys, again, are going to see depending on the permit type that you're applying for. Just some clarifying questions to make sure that you guys are applying for the permit type that we want you guys to be applying for. Again, this is going to be very much so an independent help yourself website. So the goal is for you guys to not have to call us unless you absolutely, get stuck in the process. So again, text will pop up depending on what you guys answer to these questions. we're going to go ahead and change our answer and say, yes, we are replacing an existing garage door. And you can see that pops up a second box that asks how many garage doors I'm replacing. And there's a question here that asks if a private provider is performing the plan review and inspections. I'm going to say no. And that's going to pop up a second question asking if the private provider is performing inspections only. I'm also going to say no. And then same as last time, it's going to bring you to a screen to review the entire permit. Just like last time, if you want to double check any of the information, you can open it by clicking the little arrow. And then once you scroll all the way down, same thing as last time, there's another disclosure here. You'll check the box and click continue on with the application. And this again brings you to a fee screen. We're going to check out using the fake credit card again.
And this is where you can stand up and stretch. It's refreshing.
All right, so after you successfully have paid for the permit, again, you're going to get a nice green message that lets you know your application has been submitted. And then again, down here, your address is going to pop up, and then as well as your brand new record number. Again, you'll notice that this record number does not have the TMP included in that first, unlike that first record number in the beginning of this that I showed you guys. That's because after you pay for the permit, it becomes a real live record. So that TMP drops out, and so this record will not have that same 30-day expiration date that the first one did. This permit will stay on your guys' record until either all the inspections are completed and the permit closes, or of course until you withdraw or cancel it. We're going to go a little bit further in this process, so instead of skipping this step like we did the last time, we're going to go ahead and move forward and upload plans and documents. So like Joshua had mentioned earlier, anyone who's not a fan of Box or hasn't had to use it before, currently when submitting for permits with the City of Northport, you've had to take all of your PDFs and combine them into one giant file so that you can put them in a pretty little Dropbox for us. That is not going to be the case here with Accela. If you look on my screen here underneath requirements, there is a little 1 in red. That is because to apply for a garage door permit, there is one required document that the City of Northport asks for. In this case, that document is the product approvals or the NOAs. If this was something like a single family house permit, there would be a lot more than one requirement. So again, that number in red, maybe it would say 7 documents or 7 required documents, and that would list all of those document types out. When we go and upload a plan here, you're also going to see that as you upload plans, it's actually going to start knocking off those required document types from the checklist here. So it's going to kind of keep track of all that stuff and do it for you. So in order to upload documents, you'll do that by clicking Browse. When you click Browse, it's going to pop up a little window so you can access the files on your computer. In my case, I had some fake plans stored here on the desktop, so I went ahead and selected a set of them and then clicked Open. That brings them down here. It'll list the file name here so you know which file you're working with. And then we're going to select a document type. You'll notice if I do something here like select Notice of Commencement and then click Upload and Validate, it is going to let me upload this document. It is going to validate it for me. But if I scroll up, you'll see here that this little red one has not changed. That's because I've not uploaded the required documents of product approvals. Instead, I told the computer this was a notice of commencement. So again, that's not going to go away until I upload what it's asking for. So if we go in here and click Browse again, and then again after clicking Browse, choose an appropriate set of plans from your computer. And this time, if I mark them as product approvals and click Upload and Validate, it's going to take a couple of seconds to read the file. Do things like make sure it's a PDF and not a Word document. If these were signed and sealed plans I was uploading, it would be doing things like checking the electronic signature. Again, in this case, it's not, for time's sake, I wanted to keep it nice and simple for you guys. But this is where you do things like upload your signed and sealed plans, surveys, again, anything that's going to pop up here in this requirement. You'll also notice now that this document type has been validated, and we've told it that it is a set of product approvals. If I scroll back up here to the requirements, instead of being a red 1, it now is green, letting you know that it was uploaded successfully and also validated. However, just in case you wanted to keep track of which documents you have uploaded, it is still going to display the name if you click down here on this little arrow. After uploading all of the required documents, we can go ahead and click Continue. That's going to take me to a sheet here where I can add a description if needed. And then if I go ahead and click Finish, in the background, what it's doing is it's sending these plans to the city, and then it's going to come up with a green message here that says Success. Your review package has been submitted. It lets you know that this permit is on plan review cycle 1. That means you guys have only given us one set of plans so far. In a perfect world, you guys will only ever need to give us one set of plans. But of course, if the first set of plans is returned for revisions, you'll notice when you come to upload documents in the future that this might say plan review cycle 2 or plan review cycle 3, again, depending on how many sets of plans you guys have provided us with. You'll also see I can hop into different tabs now that we're on an actual permit. If I click over on the record details tab, it's going to give me a lot of the information that was entered during the submittal process. So by clicking the arrows and the plus signs, you can of course expand all of those boxes to see that information if you needed to refer back to it. It's also going to give me the option to view things like attachments. Sometimes when you click into this page, it takes a second for the things to load. You'll notice that not only did it capture the 2 sets of fake plans that I uploaded down here at the bottom, it's also stored my receipt here for me. So this is when I paid for the permit when it was originally submitted. And then it's also created a record summary here for it. This record summary is basically going to be a snapshot in time of when you guys submitted the permit to the city. What it's doing is it's taking all of the information that's currently stored in multiple tabs on this permit, and it made it into one very nice, like 16-page document. And then again, the receipt, if you forgot to maybe print it the first time, your receipts will be stored here in Accela as well. So now we're going to go ahead and change gears a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and log into the account that I've been using for several months. That way we get quite a few more records to mess around with and show you guys. So you'll see I've got 2 collections here at the top. This number 2 corresponds with these 2 different collections set here. You can see I've got one collection that holds one record that's called Schedule Inspections. This is so I can show you guys how you'll schedule inspections here in a few moments. And then I've got another collection here that says Make Changes Demo. Again, there's one permit in here. I'll be going through this record with you guys as well to show you how to make changes to existing records. And then you can also see down here at the bottom of the screen, I've got 4 temporary records. Again, temporary records are records that you started on, but you never finished. Maybe you didn't make the payment for them. You got distracted halfway through. It will save those to your account. Again, those will only be saved to your account for 30 days before they mysteriously disappear and you can't get them back. So if at any time I wanted to jump back into these, I would do so by clicking Resume Application over here off to the far right. And then if there were any permits that I was waiting to pay for but hadn't done so yet, they would pop up here in my cart. In order to view collections, or to get in here to see which 2 permits I stored, we're going to go ahead and click the View Collections button. And you can see that still takes me to a collection screen where it breaks apart 2 collections. We've got 2 options, one to make changes and one to schedule inspections. Again, these are names that I came up for myself, so I named them today so that I would know when I go into access these different records what to demo for you. But these collection names could be anything you guys wanted. Again, name of superintendents, however you feel like it's best to separate your permits so they make sense to you for your day-to-day business practices. So if we click in here to the Make Changes demo, we're going to see that this brings me to a commercial tank record. I know that that's the record type by reading here in the record type column. And then you can also see it displays a little bit more information, things like the name of the project, when this permit is set to expire, and the current status of the permit. In this case, the status is schedule inspection. You'll also see that there is an action here that's available for me to take. It says Make Changes. If I were to look at my records in another way here, for example, here just pulling up all of my building permits, you'll see those same tabs pop across the screen pretty much no matter what screen you're in. So again, things like what kind of record it is, the name of the project, the expiration date, the status of the permit. And then depending on the status of the permit, you may or may not see different actions to take here in the actions column. The actions are only going to populate if they are appropriate for the status that the permit is in. So for example, this garage door permit that is only in a submitted status, it has not been issued yet. So there's no actions that I can take. I can't upload revised plans because the city staff has not even had a chance to look at the original plans yet. I can't do things like schedule inspections because the permit has not been issued yet. There are no fees due, so I don't have the ability to pay fees. So again, if you guys don't see anything pop up here in the action column, it's just because the permit is not in appropriate status to do something. Again, like pay fees, upload plans, things like that on the permit. So hopping back into our demo record, which again, I'm going to access by going from my dashboard into my collections. And then again, clicking on the collection that I want to go into. And then there, of course, could be more than one permit stored here. Just for today's purposes, I only put one permit in this collection. So if underneath action, I go ahead and click Make Changes, this is going to give me the option to do a few different things to this permit. You can see that I have the ability to add or change a contact. I have the ability to add or change the contractor. If my permit is getting close to expiring, I have the option to extend the permit. If I need to make a revision to the approved plans, I can choose to submit a building revision. And if the customer canceled on me and I need to withdraw this permit, I have the option to do a withdrawal request as well. So for today's purposes, we can go ahead and choose an extension request. And again, very similar screens, whether you guys are applying for some kind of amendment records to make changes to an existing record or applying for a brand new record, your screens are pretty much always going to be the same, where it's going to ask you for an address and then ask you a series of questions depending on what kind of record you're submitting. In this case, you can see when you make changes to an existing record, it's going to pull over all of the information from the original record automatically. So not only did I not have to put in the address in order to make a request to extend this permit, I actually can't change the address either. You'll see if I hover my mouse over it, it gives me a little stop sign. That's because, of course, if we want to extend an existing permit, we want this address information to match the information that we already have on the existing permit. So again, it pulls that over automatically so you guys don't have to re-input it in. We're going to go ahead and click Continue Application. Again, pulled my information over from this account here. Same thing, it continues to pull information from the original permit. So while I can see it, again, I can't edit that information because we're pulling it down from that original permit. We want all of the information to match. We've got a little question here that says, would you like to request an extension? If I do something like click no, it's not going to let me to submit this amendment. That, of course, is because this is a building extension request. Again, we just wanted to put in little safeguards to prevent you guys from submitting erroneous amendment requests on accident. So if I change this bubble to yes, that little warning message is going to go away, and you'll see it's going to pop up several other fields. This is going to be the permit number here. Again, it's copying it down from the record in the background. That's why I can't change it. The extension date, it again is copying off of the permit. And then it's giving me a little box here where it's asking me to provide a reason for the request. And then if I click to continue the application, same thing, we get to a review screen where I can open up any of these tabs by clicking the little arrows if I like, read through the disclaimer and check the box, and then continue on with the application. And then same thing, it's going to be a $75 reactivation fee in order to extend the permit. Go through the steps to go ahead and pay for that. And then very similar process again to the other two records we submitted. It's going to give me a message here in green letting me know that my application has been successfully submitted. And then it's also going to give me the record number down here. If I go back to my dashboard, this is where I was going to show you guys, again, since I have a lot more records on this account, if I go somewhere like from home into my records, you can see it splits them up by division. In this account, I've only applied for records underneath our planning division and our building permits, but you'll see that it lists both of those out for me here. This is the extension request that we just submitted. It's ordering these from newest to oldest. And then if you're going to do something like hop over to code enforcement, you'll see the same thing, options that you have across all of these, where off to the left, you have the option to create an application or submit a concern. And then the option to the right is that you can search existing applications and existing concerns. And that's going to be the same case no matter what module you guys are working out of. So if there are any fire contractors here today, you'd be utilizing the fire module again to either create a new application, search existing ones, or business tax receipts, same thing, whether you're going to create an application or search the existing applications. Going back into our collections, I'm going to go ahead and run through how to schedule inspections with you guys. So again, in order to hop into my collections, I'm going to click the blue View Collections tab and then click into the collection that I want to access. And then just like in all the other screens, it goes ahead and it pops up my record here. Again, with the record number, it tells me what type of record it is, the project name, the expiration date, the status of the record, and then whether or not I have the ability to take any action on that record. When I click into this permit, it's going to display the record number here at the top. I know that it's a little bit unfamiliar for you guys right now if you've worked with the City of Northport to have your permit number start with letters. That is something you're not going to want to ignore, so pay very close attention to those letters because the permit numbers are going to be, for example, this is a multifamily permit, right? If I had a new house permit, then it would start with the letters BR new for building residential new. But I could have a residential new permit that's number was 24-00022, the same way that this permit is a multifamily house permit that is also permit number 24-00022. Again, that's why those letters in the beginning are going to be very important. And also just so you guys know, if you use something like the phone to call in inspections, you are going to need to input those zeros as well at the end to make sure that it does take up that full 5 digits. Otherwise, it will not access the correct record number for you guys. So that is going to be something that's a little new, but that will allow our department to do several things like specifically track how many of each kind of permit we've received so far for the year, right? And definitely at a glance, for example, looking at this record, I could tell that it was the 22nd multifamily permit that we've received so far this year. So again, I know that's going to be something new to you guys, where currently our permit numbers don't start with numbers, don't start with letters. So just take note of that for the future. On that note, anyone who has records that are currently in Naviline, those Naviline records are going to stay just numerical, but you will have to use, again, the zeros, except for Naviline permits, it will be a full 8 digits. So if you guys have permits currently within the city, again, just a mental note to make sure you take note of those leading zeros in case you go to either give that record number to one of our development techs if you have questions, or again, if you use the IVR number, you'll need to input those leading zeros in order for the system to successfully pull back the accurate record. So now that we're here in a record that is in a status of schedule inspections, that means it will let me schedule inspections. I can do that here by clicking on record info and then going into the inspections tab. And you'll see there are only 5 inspections on this record. All of them are in a pending status. What pending means in Accela's world for the city of Northport is all of these inspections are ready to be scheduled whenever you guys are ready for them. So there will not be any sort of inspection sequencing, the exception being a building final. So for example, on this record, you can see there are 5 pending inspections. A building final is one of them. If I go ahead and try to schedule this building final when I have not passed all of my other permits, it's actually not going to let me. You'll see I can, on a calendar here, click any of the days in blue. You'll notice next week for Thanksgiving, you can't click the 28th or the 29th. That's because the city's closed. We've already pre-populated in those holidays. You'll notice the same thing over here for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And then after selecting a date, I'll go ahead and check the bubble that says all day. And that's going to pull in some information for me, the location of the permit, and then also my contact information from the account. If I click continue, it's going to give me the option to put something like a lockbox code or anything like that, anything that would be relevant to the inspector that they might need to schedule their inspection. The comments here are optional, so you don't have to put something in the text box, but of course you're more than welcome to if they apply. If I click finish, again, since this is a building final, it's actually going to give me an error message and not let me schedule it. The reason it's not letting me schedule the building final is, of course, because before you're ready for a building final, you need to pass all other inspections on the record. So if I close out of this and go into something that's not a building final, for example, the plumbing ref underground, same thing from the actions. I click the arrow and get a couple of options here, either the view the details or schedule. We're going to go ahead and click schedule. Same thing where we get to a calendar. I believe our cutoff is 30 days in the future. So you'll see it lets you schedule anything from November 20th all the way to January 7th. We're just going to go ahead and pick the 20th. And then again, just choose the all day option. And clicking through these screens where it's automatically pulled in my information. And then maybe adding a lockbox code. And once we click finish, you can see that it's popped up down here. Oops, it's popped up down here. So now instead of to be determined at to be determined, the way it says up here on these inspections that are still pending, it's popped up the date that the inspection was scheduled. And then it has also assigned an inspector to it. This inspector is subject to change, of course, right? Depending on if they call out sick sometime between today and the 20th, or their supervisor needs them doing something else that day. But these inspectors are being pulled in automatically based on the location of your permit. So what's going on in the background is it's reading what section of the city your job is located in, and then it's assigning it to an inspector who has the ability to perform an inspection of that discipline. So in this case, it would be a plumbing inspector, and then a plumbing inspector who is assigned to the area where your guys' permit's located in. So again, that's why it's already pulled over an inspector here. So if I didn't mean to schedule this inspection, you can see that here from the options, I have the option to reschedule it. From that drop-down menu, I click reschedule. Maybe I wanted to make it for Friday instead. I can simply select the new date. And then continue through all the screens, putting in the comment about the lockbox again, of course. And then when I reschedule it, you can see here that this date has now changed to Friday instead of the 20th. And it's also popped it up down here, letting me know that I rescheduled this inspection previously. And then it also captured the date and time that I did so. Right, and that is all I have as far as demo, like live demo things go. So does anyone have any questions? And I will do my best to answer them. And if not, pass them on to someone else in the room. Yes.
How you doing? So I just got a question about the master account and like I guess delegate account.
Okay.
So how I'm understanding is there going to be like so for like Will Smith, they have like 30 projects
Okay.
and like 10 for next month. And so I'm guessing if is like let's say the president of the company makes the first account,
Okay.
and then for like five admins who are charged for,
Okay.
and then they all so we have to make sure that I guess the master account's made first.
Yes.
And then do we have to wait until all the delegates make their accounts before we delegate?
Yep. So your delegates will also have to make an Accela account before you can add them to that master account.
Okay.
Yep. So that's like where you guys saw when I tried to put in an email address and I got that error where it said, hey, we don't see an account in our system for this yet.
So how I don't know if finicky is the word, but like, do we have to make sure that Willis Smith is spelled the same for everyone in each account, or
No. Nope. It'll be pulling over based on the email address. So you'll just want to make sure, obviously, that your staff used a correct and accurate email address, which I wouldn't see being a problem.
Yeah. And so then the other thing is pins. So like if we have existing jobs right now, the master account needs to put in all the pins for each job. So like say like we have 30 active jobs.
Are you talking about the PIN registration process?
Right. So like we have 30 active jobs.
Okay. Yep. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So there will be an email that goes out detailing the entire PIN registration process to you guys. But Joshua can correct me if I'm wrong.
The email that was associated with when those records were made, that's where the PIN registration will be sent. So whomever created your parent account, the first account, that's where all of those PIN registrations are going to be.
But is all of their permits are going to get an individual PIN number? Like one PIN number per record?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yep, so you guys will get basically, you'll have, like you said, you'll have to go in with 30 PIN different registrations in order to link them to the account. Yep. Yes.
But
Yep.
once you've done it once, it will forever live on that one account. You'll be able to see it. You'll only have to do it one time.
And
that will have, and then I'm sorry to interject, that will have all attachments, that will have everything that was on the previous Navaline record will then be pulled over.
And then, so then for delegates, I guess, so say like there's, we have we have person X, Y, and Z in this project. This project can you break it up per project, or is just any delegate?
Any delegate is a delegate. So as long as they are a delegate that you choose, they can be pulled into the account.
Yep.
Somebody worked for another company, but they already have an ACA account.
So that's where, what I was showing you guys, the collections, that might be something where maybe you guys want to break up the permits depending on like those 5 people. Maybe each of those people gets their own collection, and that'll kind of keep them out of accidentally messing with like the permits associated, again, like you said, with other administrative people. But the only thing that you're going to be controlling, like when you add that delegate, is just their permission levels. And those are permission levels like on a global scale. So it's not going to be record specific. They're either allowed to do things like upload plans for all records, or they're just not allowed to upload plans at all.
Show on the home page.
Yep. Like back to the delegates, you mean?
You see down in the middle where it says PIN registration?
Yes.
So when you're logged in, hit PIN registration, you take that email, so hit PIN. Accept the, and right here where it says PIN registration, you click on the one that's associated. So you're looking for building, you're looking for the associated. You would hit continue application. On this screen, there'll be another block where it says add row. Click the add row. And this is where it'll allow you to type in your number that you got.
So you'll be able to at least do all 30 in one screen. like to add the different rows, but yes, you will have to do it 30,
Those
30
directions
times.
will be in the email that is sent out.
Yeah, so no one panic
Yeah.
about that. There will be a very detailed
Nobody
email
will
that goes
be
out.
receiving any emails until December 9th at the earliest. So once you receive those, every record will have its own PIN registration, and every PIN registration will have a unique ID number associated with that record.
Private provider on a multi-account, how would that work? General private provider, how would they log it?
Like if you wanted to add a private provider.
Oh, say you're submitting a project, you've already got site approval.
Okay.
Getting ready to submit for the building. Be a private provider who's already done all the plans.
Okay.
How does that work?
Yep.
With
So
logging
then,
the private provider in the JC?
so it'll start with, there's 2 questions on the application. I think you saw them. One that asked if you were using a private provider for either plans and inspections or just inspections. You would answer those questions accurately. And then after that, if you chose yes to either of those questions, when you get to the screen where you're uploading the documents for your permit, one of those required documents type is going to be that notice to building official that you guys provide us with now. That packet that has all that private provider information, as well as that letter. So it'll be a required document type. Again, it'll be added as a required document based on your answer to that one specific question during the application process.
So will the general be able to access that information that the
Yes.
private provider's done?
Yep.
And vice versa?
Yes.
Each one has to have their own account.
Yes, they would
Yeah.
need, yes, in order to
Okay,
be
so
added or
is
linked to
the,
the account.
Folder or file or however you want to, is it identified by the name of the project?
So that is kind of up to you guys. If you are talking about here as far as like the collections, or you mean your actual permits?
So it could be the XYZ apartment complex, and then everything else would fall under that.
So, sorry.
Warehouse or whatever.
Yeah, so depending on what would make it easy for you guys, you could of course like make your project name something makes sense to you. And then again, if you are already in that record, I'm going to hop back into the multifamily record that I already had. So this is what your multifamily permit would look like. And then if you were going to do something like try to look at the plans associated with the permit, you would access that by like going to the attachments file or inspections, again, like we had shown previously, would pop up here with both the pending inspections and the inspections that had already been completed. So it's really going to be up to you guys and what you choose to name your application.
On the add to collections button, I think organize your projects under a specific button. You can add to
Oh, yep.
Can't hear you. I'm sorry. The add to collection is on the top part of that record. You can create your own file system the way you like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you wanted, I could either add this to an existing one, like, or like you were saying, if I wanted to,
Special project.
yeah.
So in theory, I was going to ask who sets up the account. Somebody's going to have control of the account. Hopefully, it's somebody that knows this program.
Well,
Hopefully.
let's hope, but yes, sir. So each individual that accesses this will need their own account. And so then you dictate, based on your delegates, who is able to do what.
All right, I know we had some questions, I think, on the other side of the room as well. Yes.
So I have a few. So I have done 71 permits. The person previous to me did about 30.
Okay.
How am I supposed to make sure that I'm going to get that 30 permits?
So you've got a list of all of the ones, right?
I do.
Okay. So if for some reason, like in the email, you don't get the PIN registration, there is a manual process like that we can go through. So like you said, if that was linked to an incorrect email account, if you guys are still getting the inspection notifications for those, then you should be good to go. But if you're not currently getting the notifications, there is of course a manual process that we can go through again for any permits that slipped through the cracks or didn't have an email address associated with them.
And then if we're doing a permit home, project name, would we put that as home?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. And then a lot of the times we do not get a house number
Okay.
because it's a new lot and so we can look it up by parcel ID.
Yes, yep. So I can actually probably back out of that for you. Sorry, I'm trying to leave my screen big enough for everyone else to see it, but it seems too big on my end and not big enough on your guys's. So I'm not going to go into a single family house permit type. But again, if you didn't want to search by address here, oh, we've got it blocked right now for parcel numbers. But we've also got a GIS specialist who would be putting that address into the system for you. Yep.
And then say I would have to extend the permit, I previously did not do.
Okay.
Am I able to extend old permit
Yes.
that I don't have access to?
So you would need to have them linked to your account first. So again, if it was like if you didn't get that PIN registration in an email, you would have to go through a manual process to link it. But once it was in your account, then yes, you would be able to extend that permit.
There's gonna be information.
Yep. Yes.
And then last question, if we have master permits done, would we upload the master permit at the time for uploading documents or we already have that?
There's going to be a special process for master permits that I can either get with you separately because it's a little bit of a more complicated process. And that's also going to be information that after we go live, that we've got a lot more of it. Yep. I'm going to kind of think there was one more over there before I come back to you, or no? Any questions on that side? Yes.
Two questions. On inspection notification, will we be able to receive when you schedule an inspection? Will we receive the email or text? Hey, inspection in
Yes, and actually, I'm glad someone brought up notifications. Just so you guys know, in general, almost all of the notifications with Accela are going to be automated. So you guys, if anything, are probably going to getting quite like one too many emails compared to what you're used to now. You guys will get an email as soon as your permit is successfully submitted. You'll get an email automatically when you've made your payment. You will get an email if your plan review has been approved or denied. When you get that email, if it was denied, it will include the plans examiner's comments as well as a link where you can click to it and it will bring you straight to the plans. When the plans examiners are reviewing your plans, they're going to now have the ability to do things like draw on the plans themselves with like clouds and add comments specifically. So I think that's going to make it not only easier for our plans examiners, but also for you guys as well. You will get notifications when you pass an inspection, when you fail an inspection. If you're getting a CO, you will get the CO emailed to you, and all of that will be happening automatically. So, great question. Yes.
record access.
Uh-huh.
The public has access to see all the inspections passed.
They have, yes. So if it's someone who's not on your account as a delegate, they still have the ability to see your inspections, but they obviously can't schedule or cancel the inspections themselves, but they can see what inspections have taken place on your job site, yes.
And last question about record. Back in the years, somebody pulled a permit and didn't close it for 2 years. You have access to those blueprints, floor plans, site plans.
So if there are any blueprints, floor plans, site plans, things like that that are currently like uploaded electronically in our system, they'll be available online. If, of course, it's like 10 years ago and they were paper plans, then those are stored offsite in a box, and you would have to submit a public records request if you wanted access to copies of those plans. As long as they exist currently in a digital format, then yes, they will be available on Accela in a digital format as well.
And last question. About the inspection again, you show us a list of inspections.
Yes.
Norfolk has like 3 of them.
Yes.
More. Is any how this can make it color coded, like red is not ready yet, green department inspection available?
I wish. Yeah.
Few pages.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, the ability to color code it is not a thing.
This is
But
the only way we can find out only after we submit it and say red tag. Say like, hey, you cannot schedule it.
yeah. So if we go back there,
So there's only one option, right?
Right.
See which one.
Yep.
We can permit. Not an option.
Yeah. And also on that note, though, you guys will of course have a permit card, which again will be emailed to you guys as soon as your permit gets issued. And also, if you lose it or it gets destroyed in a hurricane, you'll still be able to access that from the attachment file. So if you find it easier to work with like a paper permit card to track your inspections that way, you'll have that option as well. All right, back to this side.
Okay, you mentioned payments of all, basically, I think you indicated all fees by credit card.
Or bank account. Yep. So we'll
Like
have.
a wire transfer.
Yep. So you've got the ability. It's not a wire transfer. They're called e-checks. Yep. Yeah. And then credit card, and then if you want to come in person and see us, of course, with a paper check, you can. However, I would say it's much more convenient for everyone to use the website instead.
That was my next question then, for impact.
Yeah.
Well parks. Do they like to pay in paper?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Wanted to make
Yeah,
sure.
so paper will still be accepted, but they will have the ability to pay again via Thank you. Via ACH or credit card. I know that that's kind of been a sticking point with some of our contractors in the past where they wanted to pay with a credit card and they haven't been able to, which I get. That's a lot of airline miles right there. But you will have that ability once Accela goes live. So it's whatever works best for you guys, whether it's continuing on with the paper check or using. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Plan revision.
Yes.
If you decide some change in a project, for whatever reason, how is that occur? How do you do that with?
So touching on plan revision, I think the biggest thing I want to let you guys know is that if there is only an issue with one sheet in your entire plan set, instead of submitting your entire plan set to us again, you'll be able to just submit that one sheet. How it's going to work on our end in the background is when you guys submit that one sheet, the plans examiner is going to have the ability to view both basically like version 1 and then also version 2, the new one that you just submitted to us. They're going to be able to do really cool things like overlay them so that anything that changed is going to pop up in a different color, right? Like red. So if it's only a tiny area of the plan that changed, instead of re-reviewing the entire plan, the plans examiner can just focus on that one little area. That's also how I was telling you guys that the plans examiners are going to have the ability to do things like circle things on the plans and cloud them. Again, so instead of getting emails from our plans examiners like you do right now, you'll just be able to see their markups on the plan. And then again, whether yourself, architect, engineers can make those revisions. And then again, you only have to resubmit just the plans that didn't pass the first time around, basically.
Say it's a private provider. How would that?
Where the private provider reviewed the plans. So the city doesn't review plans that the private provider has already reviewed and approved.
Say there's a revision. You got a private provider.
Oh, so they just need to upload a new plan set.
Small revision or whatever.
Yep.
They're way within that.
Yes. Yep. So that make changes button that we had clicked, I'll go ahead and back in here. So what your private provider would do would he would check the bubble here for the applicant one that said building revision. It'll take him through screens, and the last screen is going to be one where he can upload the new set of plans. Yep. Yes. Yes, yep. So CZC records are pretty much going to look and feel the same way building permits do, where once you're in there from that drop-down menu, you'll be able to click on inspections and then schedule any of the inspections that have to go with that record type.
And now we will be paying our permit fees upfront instead of.
So for building permits, it's a submittal fee upfront. So it is a $5 convenience fee and a $40 administrative fee. That is a fee that has since I've worked for the city.
So it's basically the pre-application.
Yeah, yep. So the reason why payment is collected up front at permit submittal is to prevent anyone from making erroneous permit submissions. We're figuring if you guys are willing to throw $45 behind it, right, it's probably a project you're going to do your best to pursue and not just someone bored out of their mind trying to bog down city systems by submitting fake applications. So.
One last
So if you read through that disclosure that I've been skimming through and then checking the box, if you read through that in its entirety, it's got all of those legally required state statute fun stuff about notice commencements, all kinds of that fun stuff, and you read through it all. You know, it has all the language about checking this box is the same as signing. Yep.
One more question. The one section when you were putting down off the side came down to checklist. You have a checklist prior to. I know normally now you have a paper one. You have a checklist, and I normally like check off.
Yeah. Yep. So if you guys would like to continue using paper, we will still have like checklists as an actual like form on our website that you guys can of course print and use. But if you don't have access to that or that's not the way you want to do it, that checklist is always going to be populated on that required documents screen. Again, just letting you know what is required for that application type. And then again, as you upload those documents, knocking them off the list for you. Yep. Next. Yes.
What paperwork is actually required?
So still, your plans need to be posted on the job site so that the inspectors have them. You guys will get your plans, like once they've been approved by us, stamped, all that fun stuff. You'll receive them back as a PDF in your account. So I'm imagining the best way is going to be like for you guys to print those off yourself and then post them on the job site again so that the inspectors have access to them. But the good news is if in case they get pulled off the job site, destroyed in a hurricane, whatever the situation is, instead of right now where you kind of have to make a records request and get a whole new duplicate set of plans from the city, you'll always just have that PDF to go back to at your convenience to be able to reprint as many copies as needed. Same with your permit card as well, because I know that's something right now where you guys can only get the permit card from us. So yes, yep. So in Accela, pretty much any approved documents, so plans, permit card, product approvals, energy calculations, anything that you're giving us is going to be stored in your guys' account underneath the attachments file. So again, if anything disappears off the job site, anything like that, you'll always have access to be able to reprint a copy for you guys.
Plans, or is that all?
All plans. Yep. Yep. Yeah, so plans, and then again, also like supporting documents, things like energy calculation, surveys, all of that will be available within the portal for you guys. If the inspector needs to be able to see it, like in order to pass the inspection, yes. So things like the no, it's not readily available, and it is still like state statute that it's required to be posted on the job site. Yes.
And then my other question is building info email still going to be available?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'm sorry, what was it?
Is building info email still going to be available?
Yes, yep, sure will. So that is it won't be available as far as can you submit permits to building info starting on December 9th?
So like if
no.
It's been posted and we don't,
Yeah, like if there's some kind of comments, yeah, that you guys can't like write is something like other than, again, these options here, right? Where if you're trying to do something like extend your permit, withdraw your permit, if you send something like that into building info, the reply is going to be something like, hey, just so you know, you can do that from your own account, and probably a set of directions on how to do it. And again, if you guys are trying to submit permits the way you have been in the past by either emailing them to us or through the Dropbox, those are going to be kicked back after December 9th, and instead you'll be re-navigated to the website. But that email address is, of course, going to be available for like any general building questions or things like that for sure. Yes.
Subcontract.
Yep.
Right now we have to take them to notarize and how is subcontract?
So you can.
You get more or you
Yep.
notarize it.
So you can add them to accounts like delegates, and then you can also add them on that licensed contractor screen.
When you get notarized.
There won't be a notarized document for them to fill out, no.
Again, it's the same thing with the scroll down. You checking that box is akin to you signing the form.
They'll be on the delegate.
I'm sorry?
Where
They'll show up on the delegates or.
Oh, yes. Yep. Any more questions? Yes.
follow up on
Yeah, your building permit would not be held up if you had not had all your trades assigned to it yet, no. Right, but before they've had any inspections. No, but before the inspections have started. Yep. Yep.
And the next, during the permit for site,
Mhm.
and as well as have issues, and all of going through that was, we didn't get following up.
Oh yeah, so like if your plans get kicked back.
We don't say a hood that at all of the review comments.
Yeah.
Is that a
So.
part of yours?
Yes, so you'll definitely be able to see those comments. I don't think I have one readily available here to demo for you guys, but what it will look like on your end, you can see right here where the only action available is upload plans. If we kick back your first set of plans and we say that we need a revision, you'll see an option like this. One, you'll get an email, and in that email we'll have a link of like, hey, click here to like upload your revised plans. When you click that, you'll be able to see the existing plans, all the markups that the plan scanner put on them, as well as see their issues and comments. And then you would simply click the upload plans button once you're ready to upload that new set of documents in order to address those comments.
The comments after all reviews routing, or is it one at a time?
Nope, so the reviews are all done concurrently, but for any permits, so for example, like a commercial new permit where you've got like building and MEPs all doing a review, you're not going to get those comments and it's not going to be reopened for you to submit revisions until all of those trades have finished their review. Because what we don't want, right, is for building to kick it back, you guys fix it, mechanical is still reviewing the first plan set, also kicks it back, but you've already only changed the building like pages. We want all of those comments done all at once. So you'll get one email from Accela after everyone's comments have been done, and then you'll be able to address everyone's comments in that one resubmittal. Okay.
And conditions, also.
Yep. Yeah, so if there's conditions and comments, so like anything the inspector just wants to note but not necessarily like reject, there will be a field for them to put that on there as well. And if the inspector or plan scanner adds like things like conditions to the plan, yep, they'll be part of your approved set of plans as well. So those comments will stay like for your guys' plan set as well.
The last question, going back to license holders qualified and setting up their account, our insurance, that part of it. Can we submit it here, or does that go to this thing?
So you'll want to keep your insurance up to date with the state and then obviously carry it locally as well, just like you do with the city, but I believe we will not be collecting it with Accela.
No, as a state licensed contractor, you're required to state, so not going to police that, and if it's not, it's not.
I like that.
That goes back on the license.
I like that.
All right, I say yeah, right behind you.
Clarification to start a new single family, you won't need any of the applications and upload. Our plans only, like a survey, a plot plan.
Yeah, you're talking about like the actual permit application itself?
There's several applications that have to be completed currently, septic.
Yep, yeah, yep, so,
Not gonna require any of it, it's all just through. This is similar to Manatee County.
yeah, yep,
And they don't require that.
yeah.
So what I'm saying is, are you doing away with all of the current applications?
Yeah, so pretty much all of the fields that you usually would have filled out on like a building permit application, instead, those screens that we click through together, we're collecting that information basically by going through those steps instead of asking you guys to fill out one fillable form. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
But Kyla, can I add,
Yeah.
just, and for my own clarification, when that submittal, that initial submittal is performed, there will also be required documents.
Right.
So will the CDC be a required document for a single family application?
Not as a document, no,
Okay.
it'd be a field.
What would be a required document that we currently have now, like in an application?
So like
So-
energy calculations, truss engineering, again, NOAs,
Okay.
things like that will still be required, but not application.
And those are already things that we
Yep.
Right.
provide,
Yep.
but without application, you won't have any.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so with that though, with plan changes, so we decide we're going to help for whatever reason. And how do we do that? Do we have a plans change form?
So instead of a plans change form, what you'll see is there will be an option on your permit to make changes. So, what that'll look like is the option over here will say make changes, and when you click on it, it's going to give you several different options. If it's a change like that, we would consider it a revision. Again, the only time you would submit an actual revision record is if your permit has already been issued, you've already got an approved set of plans, and you're making changes to those approved set of plans. Anything else where instead it's been like rejected by the plans examiner before it's been issued, again, you're going to get an email, and that won't actually be processed as a revision. You'll just be changing the plans before they've been approved.
So just something about inspections. So with the inspections, once I saw how they were scheduled, and construction managers generally schedule them.
Sure.
So what I do is I keep an eye on it,
Mhm.
on what passed. To me, it doesn't matter what day it is, it just matters pass, and if I can request PO. And all the inspections there are some that I have to, and like health department.
Yeah, so touching on what you said about the CO, just so you guys know, when we move to Accela, the CO process is going to be automated. So I believe right now there is like an actual application kind of process that you guys have to like fill out and submit, and it's 24 hours-ish or so before that gets turned around to you. What will happen in Accela is as long as all of the impact fees have been paid, as long as any other outstanding fees, like so permit fees, reinspection fees, anything like that, all of those need to have been paid as well, and then your building final needs to have passed, and then your fire final, if applicable, usually just for commercial, needs to have passed. Once all of that happens, Accela actually reads the permit and says, hey, there's no inspections on here that have not passed, and there's no fees on here that have not been paid, so it just automatically issues the CO, and we'll email it to you guys.
So will we have to request
Nope.
any of the solid waste fees that will already be?
That will already be pre-programmed in there, so you'll have to pay them, of course. And because that one fee is prorated, like you'll have to pay it that 1 month when you guys know you're close to CO. But as soon as those fees are paid and that building final passes, it will automatically issue you guys the CO. Okay? Yes.
With the CO, you have to be prior or at the same time or prior to requesting your building final. I know in Charlotte County, you have to take for request your building final. You can get the other inspection prior.
I would honestly have to double check it. I know for sure that we scripted it one way or the other, but honestly, off the top of my head, there's been so much going on. I don't know, but I'd be more than happy to follow up with that in an email to you and as well as anyone else who wants the answer to that question. Okay?
Put it on the website.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
You still have to get an approved permit.
Yes.
Yep. Or do a technical report still.
I do not believe that is going to be required for single family houses, but it is going to be required for commercial. I also want to clarify, would the septic permit would be on the CZC? Nope, it's on the building permit. Okay. Yep. Yes. I'm sorry? That is not something that I am familiar with enough. So again, if you want to shoot that one over in an email, would be more than happy to get that back to you tomorrow.
And you have to approve septic permit prior to applying.
Before your building permit can be issued. Yes. Yep. Yes.
What about the health department?
Is
They request it now.
yeah, yep. So it's still going to be instead of being listed as an actual inspection, the way it's going to work in Accela is it's going to be like a condition, what's called a condition of approval. which just means when you get into that permit, there's going to be a blue bar across it that's just going to say something along lines of like waiting for health department approval. So as soon as the city receives that, the city is going to mark that condition as met, and that blue bar will disappear and you'll be good to go. Yep, sure. Any other questions? Sure. Yes. Yep. Yeah, you'll be able to see any notes that the inspectors leave, whether it's just like notes for you guys to know when they approved it, or of course notes on why they disapproved it, as well as you guys can leave notes like before they schedule the inspection. Like I said, lockbox code, anything like that, where the plans are. Yep. Anything else? Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. Really appreciate how interactive this was. And everyone go home 20 minutes early.
All right, thank you for showing up, everybody.
Thank you.